Hello, I'm Zuhra Yunus. Welcome to Focus on Africa. Our top stories. A landmark ruling by Nigeria's High Court. Sex work is not a criminal offense. What will this mean for the country going forward? A beacon of hope. Ethiopia successfully launches a multi-million-dollar satellite into space. South Africa suspends initiation schools in 4 areas after 23 boys die from botched circumcisions.
You go to the hospital, you're not a closer man, because in our culture, we're not allowed to use pills or any injections.
Also in the program, a Hollywood homecoming. From film sets to Freetown, Idris Elba visits his father's native Sierra Leone and meets President Julius Maada Bio.
I'm 47 years old and this is the first time I'm coming to my parents' country. There's a lot of anticipation.
And in sports, he's back. Arsenal named former captain Mikel Arteta as their new head coach. Thanks for joining us on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. A judge in Nigeria's High Court ruled that sex work is not a criminal offense in the country. The case involves 16 women who were arrested for prostitution in Abuja in 2017. The government accused them of being criminals, but the court has now ruled otherwise and has also awarded them damages. Legal experts say this judgment will have wider implications and could reduce the number of women arrested for sex work. Now let's go live to Abuja, where we can speak to Romy Mom. He's a barrister and the president of Lawyers Alert, which helped represent the female victims. You're welcome. Let's start with, this all started back in 2017 with 16 arrests. Give us your reaction to this judgment.
Well, thanks for having me. I think the judgment more than ever reinforces the issue of women's rights, especially here in Nigeria. We have seen a situation where one can say that once is dark, then it's sometimes criminal to be a woman in some parts of Abuja. Where security agencies can swoop in on an area and make arrests for any woman or lady that they feel or presume is a sex worker. And that has been what is happening. So the implication for me or for what will happen to this for us is that women's rights probably will begin to see more of compliance than violations going forward.
Okay, but Romy, according to the judgment, it's not a criminal offense and it's not illegal. So what does that mean exactly? Oh, well,
it means, therefore, that women can engage in sex work since there's no law of the land that criminalizes sex work as is the previous notion by security agencies. Often these arrests are made on the presumption that sex work is an offense. But with this judgment, it's been proven beyond all doubt that you can't make arrests based on sex work in isolation.
So what will this judgment mean for women, especially for those workers, sex workers in Nigeria?
Well, I think it will mean that their rights to practice their trade, to carry on their work, will be respected as in any other trade. And I do believe that the frequent raids will reduce. And you see, lately, like I said earlier, the issue of women continuously being harassed at night will reduce. And for the women, it's like enjoyment of their rights, their God-given rights to earn a living. It doesn't matter what we think of it.
Okay,
so yet is that the law is on their side.
But with this kind of ruling, there's bound to be opposition, right?
Definitely there will be, because hitherto, before now, some laws have been stretched to cover the issue of sex work. For example, in Abuja, we have what we call the Abuja Environmental Protection Board, which enforces the law on saying the environment is polluted or is made undignified by going to arrest women, and not because of their sex work, but in saying that they are polluting the environment by standing on the streets or those kind of thing. And the law enforcement agents and government officials have themselves said several times that it's immoral for sex work to go on.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Romy Mom, a barrister and the president of Lawyers Alert, who helped represent the female victims. Now to Ethiopia. Ethiopia is one step closer to the stars after the successful launch of the first ever satellite. Here, it's taking off in the early hours of Friday morning. The ETRSS-1 was sent into space from China, but its command base is at the Entoto Space Observatory on the outskirts of the capital, Addis Ababa. It will provide data to help monitor the environment and help provide early drought warnings. Joining me live from Addis Ababa is Beza Tesfaye, who works for the Ethiopian Space Science Society. So what has the reaction been from this launch so far?
Hi. So far, it's been an exciting one. It's been something that we were looking forward to achieving. Since the establishment of the ESS, Ethiopia has made a significant progress in the National Space Program, like establishing the Ethiopian Space Science and Technology Institute, enacting the space policy, and now launching the first Ethiopian satellite in collaboration with China government.
So what exactly does this mean for Ethiopia? Like, what will the satellite help with?
So it means a great deal. First is in terms of developing a capability to transform the country's developmental sectors, such as agriculture, to yield a better production using satellite technology, satellite-based technology informations. Acquired from the satellite technology, So one is that. The second is it is a starting point for future satellite projects. Also, from my personal point of view and as ASS leader, it is very important to take this leap to inspire future scientists, thinkers, and dreamers of the Ethiopian.
Despite this being very positive, but it never happens in African soil. Why doesn't that happen?
Which launching part, or?
Yes.
I think
it's in China, right?
At the moment, yes. At the moment, we lack the infrastructure and the technology to launch it from Africa. But I hope in the near future that we will be able to develop these capabilities.
All right. And China financed the majority of the project and launched the satellite. Tell us more about that cooperation.
Yes, the satellite is launched in support of the government of China. It is as a result of the two countries' relationship and the collaboration of the space sector. So it's just it is an ongoing effort. We also had an upcoming agreement with the Chinese government to develop another satellite. And regarding to the communication and broadcasting satellite.
Thank you very much, Beza Tesfaye from Ethiopian Space Science Society.
Thank you.
And now let's take a quick look at other stories making the headlines across Africa and the rest of the world. Guinean President Alpha Condé has announced a new draft constitution which could pave the way for the 81-year-old to stand for a third term as president. This is despite huge protests in the country over the last 2 months. He did not confirm in his speech whether he intends to run in 2020. Belgian prosecutors on Friday urged a court to impose a 30-year jail term on a 71-year-old Rwandan convicted of genocide and war crimes during the massacres in his country in 1994. On Thursday, the court in Brussels found former Rwandan official Fabien Neretse guilty of ordering 9 murders in Rwanda. He reportedly maintained his innocence throughout the trial. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved pharmaceutical company Merck's Ebola vaccine, which is being used to fight the deadly virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo. This makes it the first FDA-authorized vaccine, which was approved by the World Health Organization and the European Commission earlier this year. The Duke of Edinburgh has been admitted to hospital in London for what Buckingham Palace has described as observation and treatment in relation to a pre-existing condition. It's expected Prince Philip, who's 98, will remain there for a few days. In South Africa, the CLR Rights Commission has suspended initiation schools and practices for a year in 4 areas in the Eastern Cape. The decision comes after 23 young boys died from botched circumcisions. This year, 5 more than in 2018. Victoria Panethi reports from Johannesburg.
A rite of passage from child to man. Twice a year, teenage boys from several of South Africa's tribal groups come to these initiation schools to undergo circumcision rituals. Boys are supposed to be 18 to attend the schools, but some who don't get the permission from their parents can be as young as 13.
I have been thinking of this since I was a child, seeing my older brothers being initiated, and there was no way I could stay a boy on my own. As a boy, you get up to mischiefs. You are only taken seriously once initiated. Some are even regarded as criminals. But once you are initiated, you learn how to become an adult.
During these rituals, they are restricted from drinking water and often spend weeks healing in remote rural areas.
If you go to the hospital, you're not a closer man, because in our culture, we're not allowed to use pills or any injections, you see. You have to use that leaf until you are proper healed. That leaf works pretty well with that sore.
But performed by a traditional surgeon, medical facilities are far away if anything goes wrong. And often it does. After at least 23 deaths this year due to complications and dehydration in the Eastern Cape, the Rights Commission has suspended the schools in 4 areas. It said in a statement, "The true and authentic traditional practice of initiation must be measured and judged by its ability to care and preserve the lives of the young initiates. The deaths and amputations suffered by these young men can never be tolerated." While the tradition will continue, those performing the rituals are increasingly coming under a microscope. The Commission wants law enforcement agencies to bring to book those responsible for the deaths. Victoria Panetti, BBC News, Johannesburg.
This is Focus on Africa from BBC World News with Zuhra Yunus. Still to come, Mimi with the sport. Former Ivory Coast international Yaya Toure has high praise for his brother Kolo, who's on the coaching staff at Leicester City. I'm Zuhra Yunus. The top stories this hour. A judge in Nigeria's High Court has ruled that sex work is not a criminal offense in the country, following a case involving 16 women arrested for prostitution. A beacon of hope, Ethiopia successfully launches a multi-million-dollar satellite into space. Ashanti means undefeated, divine and peace, not a bad legacy. The Ashanti people grew out of small chiefdoms to become an empire that ruled from 1670 to 1957 in what is now modern-day Ghana. In the latest episode of Zainab Badawi's History of Africa, she looks at their rich culture and celebrations.
The Asante dress to impress, and they have a regular occasion designed for just that purpose. A chance to express one's status through clothing and jewellery. The upper echelons of the Asante kingdom are all gathered here today for the Akwasidai, which is a special festival that takes place every 40 days. At the Akwasidai, just about everybody is wearing one of the most famous of fabrics in Africa, the Kente cloth, which literally means whatever happens to it, it will not tear. Kente cloth, as I discover when I visit a local factory where it's made, is much more than just beautifully designed material. Kente cloth was originally only worn by Asante royalty. It can be single, double or triple weaved, and traditionally it was woven only by men, but that's something that has changed in more recent years. And the colour and design of the Kente cloth denotes status and clan allegiance. Local culture expert Osei Bonsu is on hand to explain. Tell us about the gold, because of course Asante kings have become almost synonymous with gold wearing and the lavish costumes that they have.
Yes, whatever you see around the king or other chiefs is actually made of gold. All the decorations are of gold. They're not just gold. The things that have been coated with gold have been carved in such a way that they also have meanings. And they know when to wear them. It's not every day that you wear all the regalia that you wish to wear. It depends on which situation. But when it is about a Kwaside or very colorful occasion, that is where everything the king wears is topped in gold.
You can watch the full episode on BBC World News on Saturday and Sunday at these times, and further episodes are broadcast at the same time in January next year. You're watching BBC Focus on Africa. It's now time for some sports with Mimi. Mimi,
thank you.
I'm sure you have some big news about Arsenal or something.
Oh yes, a new appointment. Well done. After several days of speculation, Mikel Arteta has finally been officially announced as the new Arsenal head coach on a 3.5-year deal. The former club captain won the FA Cup several times actually in a 5-year career with the Gunners, and succeeds fellow Spaniard Unai Emery, who was sacked in November. The 37-year-old had been working as an assistant coach under Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, and Guardiola believes he will do in his new job really well.
So no, he decided to move there. You know, when you have dreams, you cannot stop it. So you have to follow your dreams, and of course Arsenal was an important part of his career as a football player. Come back at home is important for him, and one of the best teams in England, and of course wish him all the best. So the results, I'm pretty sure he's going to do an excellent job.
And Arteta held his press conference just a few minutes ago. Moving on, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp says that most fans in Europe do not really care if they win the FIFA Club World Cup, with fans in England preferring the League Cup to it. His comments come ahead of the final, which takes place on Saturday when they will face Brazilian side Flamengo.
It's not an advantage or a disadvantage, whatever, but the situation is different for Flamengo and for us. Flamengo got sent here from their continent or their country with a clear order to win it and to come back as heroes. We got told, stay at home and play the Carabao Cup. So that's a massive difference. So we cannot change that. We cannot change that. But we are here, and my team wants to win the competition.
Yes, to aiming to be European champions to world champions. Former Manchester City and Ivory Coast international Yaya Toure has been speaking about how proud he is of his big brother Kolo, who is part of Brendan Rodgers' coaching team at Leicester City. City are currently riding high in the English Premier League as they are second in the table behind Liverpool. Yaya says that he would be happy to one day learn from his brother.
No, I think I'm very proud to my big brother. Kolo is someone who's amazing. He's just tried to learn, and I think, to be honest, Brendan Rodgers was very, very good with him, because at Celtic, when he finished at Celtic, he take him with him, and after that we go to Leicester, he take him with him as well. And Kolo is a very clever guy. He's just learning, and I hope maybe one time he's gonna be a proper manager, because for me, to be assistant of one of the great managers in England, the Premier League, something amazing, you know. I'm quite jealous sometimes because I want to be like him, but me, I have a lot of time to be there and just try to learn. Maybe if he manager of Ivory Coast one time or for great team, I can come to learn from him.
Let's take a look at some other stories. African Athletics has announced a Diamond League-style continental circuit for 2020. The African Athletics Tour are involved with 7 meetings starting in Djibouti in March next year. Elsewhere, the Basketball Africa League, which tips off next March, launched their new logo at an event in Rwanda. It says the new logo celebrates the Pan-African footprint of the league and Africa's diversity. Zuhura, that's all the sport, but as we were speaking, Arteta making all the headlines today.
Oh, yes.
A lot of people think, you know, he hasn't proven himself yet on such a big stage, assistant at City, but not big top job just like now.
Yeah, I guess. Anyways.
Just moving on straight away.
By the way, I just wanted to tell you, Mimi, because you know I speak Swahili, right? Is me, basically. If you say Mimi ni Mimi, it's me. I'm Mimi.
Oh, I feel special. Thank you very much.
Okay, now you're probably used to seeing this Hollywood actor on red carpets or film sets, but for the first time, British-born Idris Elba is visiting his father's native Sierra Leone and meeting with President Julius Maada Bio. Elba is receiving citizenship and will celebrate Christmas with the president. Umaru Fofana caught up with Elba earlier today and began the interview by testing the film star's Creole.
Want to test me Creole? Yes. Howdy, buddy.
Buddy, find yourself.
Not bad.
I didn't just alone.
I didn't manage.
That's a good one. Now tell me this, what does it feel like coming back home, so to speak?
It's a mixed bag, you know, if I'm honest. I'm transparent, it's very emotional. And I've had to suppress my emotions because, you know, it's a short trip, but I've been so welcomed. You know, I'm 47 years old and this is the first time I'm coming to my parents' country. There's a lot of anticipation. And I've sort of plugged straight into an energy that I think Sierra Leone is rising with at the moment, which is like, you know, the son of the soil is coming back to fertilize the soil, you know, not just me, but diaspora. There's such a young movement coming and I feel like I just plugged into that wave. As an entertainer, there's one thing, but as a business entrepreneur, as a philanthropist, as someone that cares for what happens to Africa, and quite honestly, Africa is the central spot for most of the poverty in the world. I feel like, you know, I can use my beacon, my amplification to help.
Why now? What about now that has attracted you to come back home?
Well, now because, you know, I'm just reaching this stage of growth. I've been acting for a very long time and I'm very, very happy and very lucky to have it. But there's a growth that I want that, you know, to be quite fair, you know, America or England in entertainment cannot house my ambition. Africa can house my ambition. Like, I can create another Disney here. I can't do that in America.
I understand that you have plans to invest in Sierra Leone touristically. What are those plans?
It was a very, very vibrant, buzzy place of West Africa to come to. As part of, you know, my legacy as my bloodline, I want to help to rejuvenate that.
You met with President Julius Maada Bio, who conferred Sierra Leonean citizenship on you. Could you tell me a bit more about that?
In fact, this morning I was confirmed citizenship. I was given a diplomatic passport, which has been just the biggest honor I could get from my country. It allows me to come back home as a son of the soil, and I'm very proud of it, very proud of it.
Well, that was Hollywood actor Idris Elba. What a way to celebrate Christmas with a president. Well, anyway, don't forget you can get in touch with me and some of the team on social media. I'm at Venus Nyota. Well, that's all from the program. From me, Zohra Yunus, and the rest of the Focus on Africa team.